Hi, I'm Vincent Madama, and I'm here to explain why I think esports should be considered a real sport. So basically, esports or electronic sports has become a world-renowned sport as of recently. You may have heard of esports before, but now it is an even bigger scene to behold. The concept of competitive gaming started out in October 1979 with a game called Space War. There were 24 students playing at the Stanford's Artificial Intelligence Laboratory in an event called Intergalactic Space War Olympics for a chance to win a year subscription to the Rolling Stone magazine. In 1980, a larger scale video game competition held by Atari would attract more than 10,000 participants with only one leaving as the victor. This event would essentially light a pathway for the establishment of competitive gaming as we know it. So people always ask, what are the differences between esports and real sports? Well, of course, there are very significant differences between the two. One being that esports isn't as physically demanding as for than it would be in a real sport like football or basketball. That is one of the big reasons why people will not accept competitive gaming to be a sport. It is not physically demanding at all, actually. This is what defines a sport. But a counter argument that I would make is that the same mentality when going into a game of football is the same mentality as a professional esports player has going into their game. The strategy and reaction times are about the same, but the only difference between the two, in my opinion, is that they prepare fitness wise very differently. For one, athletes prepare for months and months running around, doing conditioning, lifting weights. For esports players, they don't really need to do that. All they really need to do is focus on know how to play the game, be great at it, and perform. That's what I mean. If you're, it's always good to be healthy as an esports player, so you can think, so your mind will be clear, think faster. But it's not very demanding as it would be playing football or basketball. So for years, people have been debating whether or not gaming is a real sport. This debate started when there was an uprising of gamers participating in competitive gaming events. Since then, those who are passionate about gaming are calling it a sport because of the rigorous practice and hours they put into what they love to do. Really, the only argument I found people using against esports was that it was not physically demanding at all. There was no, you don't need to be extremely fit to play a video game. You don't need to. Well, I mean, people seem to think all they do is sit down and play video games. Emphasis on games. But isn't basketball, football, and baseball just a game as well? Professional esports athletes have the same mentality as professional athletes going to their matches. They have the desire to win, compete, different strategies going around in their head to win. Even the government considers esports players as professional athletes because of the use of visas to get the other countries to compete for the game they play. I personally believe that esports should be considered a sport simply because you can't expect LeBron James to compete at a high level that he does and not expect him to spend 14 to 16 hours in the gym practicing. It's the same with a professional esports player. They need to spend hours and hours practicing and honing their skills in their game. It's like saying comic books isn't real literature. Just because gamers sit down in front of a screen all day, people seem to think that they aren't actually doing anything important. But it's acceptable for someone to spend over 24 hours in the gym playing basketball alone. I just don't see the difference in their training regimens. There are games like chess, poker, pool, darts, and other sports are similar to gaming. These are games, but are widely accepted as sports. So what's the difference between sport? What's the difference towards esports? Being the gamer that I am, I obviously am sided with esports being a sport. With the reasons I explained earlier before, I stand firmly with my opinion. Esports should be considered a sport because of what it is already becoming. It is a huge industry now. it's reaching the popularity standards close to other sporting events like the Super Bowl, the NBA Finals, and the World Series. It may not be the exact qualifications of a sport, but you can bet that trying to be a famous esports athlete is similar to becoming an NBA, NFL, or MLB star. May not be exactly, but the way to get there is still rigorous enough to let it be compared to becoming to getting to the NBA or NFL. It's still hard, and that is my TED talk.